Chris in Mentor, Ohio. Hey, Chris, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Thom, how are you?
Good. What's up?
Well, you had that man on who was talking about doing away with the minimum wage.
Yeah, Charles Sauer.
Yeah. He said that if you go and you're making $9 an hour, that you can go find another job.
Okay.
That was what I heard, right?
I said, what do you say to somebody making $9 an hour who can't raise their, can't pay for their family, and he said, find another job. Yeah.
Okay.
As I recall.
Since 1982, I've had 34 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, from 1982 to 1996, I went from $5.50 an hour to $13 an hour. Mm-hmm. Today, I'm making $12 an hour.
Right.
From 1996 to now. And I don't see, in my experience, I don't know how many other people have gone through this, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. The jobs aren't out there that pay well, and they won't pay well unless the government mandates it.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. And it's I mean, how people could think that, obviously he has a good way of making money, he's a smart guy, and amongst a white man in a conservative white world,
yep.
Yeah, he's going to do fine. But you have people like me who's just talked like a grubby little machinist who can't really do nothing.
Grubby little machinist. My dad worked at a machine shop for 40 years, Chris.
Well,
the problem is that the machinist union is almost dead.
But I agree. But in my experience, people look at me like, "Oh, I work with my hands. You're not that smart. How can you?"
Oh, that's crazy. See, that's the thing that makes me crazy is this idea which Reagan elevated. This was one of the core components of Reaganomics, and it was also adopted, frankly, by the Bush family, by both Bush Elder and Bush Jr., and by Bill Clinton, which is that working with your hands that's the old way to do it. That's what our grandparents did. That's just that kind of work. That's not important work. We don't need to recognize or honor that work. We need people who work with their minds, and so we need to send people to college and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, if the average IQ is 100, assuming that intellect is somehow associated with that, which is a bad assumption, by the way. Growing up in Lansing, Michigan, and seeing, the guys who worked with my dad in the machine shop and people that I knew whose parents worked at Oldsmobile, which is probably 3/4 of my friends as I was growing up, there were geniuses in that group. I mean, there were really smart people working on the assembly line at General Motors. But even at that, you've got, if the average IQ is 100, that means that half of the people are below that and half of the people are above that. You're not going to have half of the people be rocket scientists. You're not going to have half of the people be computer engineers. You're not going to have half of the people go to university and graduate magna cum laude in anything that they can make money with. And so, why not create an economy that simply values work? To you, Chris.
Exactly. Right. I agree. And what really boggles my mind is that narrative has been spread throughout this country, or at least in northeastern Ohio. Because I can't speak to, the whole country, because I live in this little tiny corner of the United States of how many millions of people. So it seems to me that if people, would reverse that trend, because, come on, I've worked on, my first job was a prototype machinist in a plastic injection mold shop, and I've worked on an MRI on and off since the 80s. Now, the MRI allows doctors and nurses to have a good career.
Right.
And people like
But
me
not the people who build them.
Right. Gave those people their career.
Right.
And right now I'm working in a CNC shop pushing buttons. I was a manual machinist. And I work on stuff where firefighters have a career. You know what I mean? We make...
Yep. Yeah, they've got good union jobs, most firefighters. Yeah. Excellent point, Chris. We need to value work again. We need to honor work again. I'm totally with you. Chris, thanks a lot for the call.